Everyone. All right, it's been a couple days since I did a review. I didn't feel like doing one 2 days ago. It was a great day though. Yesterday I didn't do one because we only took one trade and it was green for 40%, and that was it. Just calls at market open and then sold at supply. Pretty basic. Today was a little bit more complex though. Still only two trades, I believe. But I sat out on a lot of trades. So I'm going to review this, get back into the swing of doing reviews, post them to YouTube, all that good stuff. That way you guys know why I do what I do and think the way I think so that you can improve your own trading. But all right, we'll start with the pre-market. And this review should be fairly quick. So here's the pre-market. Clearly, it's a fundamental day. I mean, we had employment data at 5:30 my time, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And I thought that's what was when I just glanced at the market. But after taking a look, this happened at 5:49 my time, 8:49 Eastern. That's not a news time, right? So I guess it was Xi Jinping and Trump stuff this morning. I didn't really look too much into it, but what it tells you is today is fairly fundamental. You know, stuff is happening in the world that's moving the market that isn't scheduled news. So that could make it a little bit more hard to predict, but does mean typically a little bit more participation in the markets and hopefully a little bit more trendiness. But I've seen either way. But anyways, you know, after on looking at the 15-minute chart, I was leaning very mildly bullish, only because we popped up and it kind of looked like it was curling back to the upside. But aside from that, I don't really have much pre-market sentiment. Now, if we do end up going up and invalidate a vast majority of this drop or this pullback, I would take calls to pre-market high because that is the nearest BT. And the market opened here, and I almost got into QQQ calls, but it finished with a selling wick. I wanted to enter roughly somewhere up here. So I decided to wait, and I'm glad I did because this candle happened. And I was triggered into puts on this candle. Sorry, not this candle, the next candle. So now ES has invalidated a vast majority of the bounce. I have a couple near side pivots. I have, let me fix this. This one here. On NQ, we got this one and this one. Okay, so yellow lines are pivots. But we finished with a big buying wick, and this could be technically a minor pivot as well. So I need the next candle to open red. If the next candle opens red, the second it invalidates most of this buying wick, I'll hop in. Because that buying wick was formed by buyers stepping in. Those buyers that step in get invalidated. That's good enough for me to enter my trade. And early on in this candle, in the first like 10 seconds I did, and I entered my puts here, my SPX puts. Now the first PT was technically here, but I was looking for this PT all the way down here. One tick past it. This was my stop loss. I entered these puts at, I believe, I tried entering at 2.65, but I filled at 2.7. Yep. And immediately it hit 3.4, but it got a huge buying wick. And the problem is, it swept a pivot, and NQ looked pretty bullish. Those are really bullish buying wicks on NQ. There's two big buying wicks in a row, and we have a lower low here on the NASDAQ. So I'm thinking it's going to bounce. Now, I did enter this trade half size because NQ's demand concerned me, and I wanted to average down if it bounced. Well, NQ did bounce. ES did not. Great strength and weakness analysis. I chose SPX instead of QQQ because it was weaker. But now at this point, it kind of looked like NQ may want to break to the upside. Now, I'm still half size in this trade. Kind of planning on averaging up or averaging down. I didn't end up doing either. It started getting really bad on this candle. Note, I entered this trade at 2.7, roughly here. And right here, it got to 3.4. The contracts right here were 2.6. All of a sudden, the puts started chopping really, really, really bad, which really hurts the odds of the trade. If the trade, it pretty much tells me that if the trade goes down, but slow, I'm going to lose a bunch of money. If it goes up, I'm going to lose a ton of money. The only way I make money is if it goes straight down. That really hurts the odds of the trade. So I actually even though I was already half size, I scaled out of some of my contracts at break even to reduce my exposure. If you see that the trade's moving in your direction, within the first few minutes and your contracts are not moving at all, like not budging, and they're trying to go down every chance they get, like they are struggling to stay at break even, you want to reduce your exposure because 8 times out of 10, that's a reversal indicator. But the hypothesis, the trade hypothesis in itself isn't invalidated. So should have been in the green here, still barely break even. Slightly above break even now. I believe it hit like 2.75 finally. And then it got new low of day. I'll actually look at the contracts right now. At new low of day, it got... What time was this? 6:38 my time? Yeah. Oh, these are the wrong... These are the wrong puts. I don't remember the puts. The 15 puts. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. It was on this candle that they finally started moving in okay. So remember, they were at 3.4 here. We have broken new low of day, and those contracts were now only at 2.9. So I should be up a bunch, but I'm not even up 10%. It's looking really bad. So that's why I was so aggressive on scaling out of this trade early, because it was just looking so bad, right? Luckily, because I'm not going to close my whole position, the thing is still valid. And if NQ did luckily invalidate this entire bounce, which makes me low bearish to the nearest pivot, which is low a day, and then I have this pivot down here that I'm bearish to. We did end up finally dropping nicely, and I sold. Right when we hit that pivot, I sold. And I sold at roughly 4. They've hit 4.2. I got 4.1 for 51% gains. Now, unfortunately, it was a small win for me. I was in roughly only a quarter of a position size. So, like, that's like taking a full-size trade and only getting like 15% on it, which really sucks, but it's the correct thing to do. You know, it was moving the right direction. Contracts were doing the opposite up until the very end. It was very rough. But now I don't really know where it wants to go. I mean, I'm kind of bearish for NQ to get to this pivot down here, this second yellow line, but we are in very heavy demand at the moment, and we're on pivots. It's just not looking too great. Well, I sold the bottom, was considering QQQ calls, because NASDAQ's still a lot stronger. And this is technically an early entry here, but I wanted to wait for it to get all the way up here and invalidate a lot more of the drop to help the odds of the trade a lot more, because I still can't tell if ES actually wants to go down. And luckily, I didn't end up pulling the trigger on QQQ calls, and I did end up taking advantage of puts again. Now, I couldn't take advantage of puts on this drop. You know, there's nothing for me to do. I did say during this candle, when it reached right here, I said this actually looks okay for QQQ puts. Right before that, I said I can't enter puts because, you know, I don't want to chase in the drop and it's chopping down. But right when it crossed this line, I'm like, ooh, I could actually enter puts. And then within a snap of the fingers, it already took out the low of this candle. And then right after that, it hit the pivot, hit this pivot here. So I literally did not even have a chance to get inputs on this drop, unfortunately. But I was technically able to, you know, if I was operating at the speed of light, which is impossible. And if I were able to catch it, you guys 100% were not going to be able to. But this is a reversal candle here. Kind of invalidating, though. Now we got lower lows with buying wicks, expecting a bounce. But now ES is broken kind of far below this pivot. We do have a lower pivot back here. But we've broken a good amount below these pivots. This is a nice bounce. Very nice bounce. We get a selling wick indicating reversal. Look at the strength divergence. Look how much weaker ES is than ES. I take one more trade here, and this has to be a half size, unfortunately. Lots of half size trades today. But I do end up filling puts at the start of the next candle while it's still green. And my PT's a little bit below ES. A little bit below ES low of day. Now, I was planning on kind of averaging up because, you know, I'm thinking it's going to put in a bear flag. And Q ended up putting in a bear flag. ES did not. But this is just a typical bearish continuation trade. We get a bounce invalidated in favor of the trend. I just take it, right? I don't have a nice PT, which is the problem. The best PT I have is NQ new low of day. And unfortunately, NQ didn't really end up getting a new low of day. So What ended up happening, NQ's bouncing. It's kind of looking bullish. It's kind of chopping up. Chopping up is typically bearish, but it's chopping up very steep. NQ gets a sell side liquidity sweep here. You can see the selling wick, and it validates most of the move. I need it at least at this point. I'm bullish for NQ to short squeeze to the upside. I even called it out on my channel. I'll talk about it in a second. But I need NQ to, I need obviously ES new low of day to take profits, but then I need NQ to at least make a lower low. Well, it almost did here until it didn't on this candle, because ES on this green candle I'm talking about, ES made a new low of day. NQ did not make a lower low. Here's the candle where I was able to take profits right here. This was a nice candle. So I pretty much sold the entire position here. And the put stopped chopping, which is nice. I entered those puts at 2.7 again and sold at 3.9 for 44% gains. Very nice. I did end up keeping a small. I kept a single contract to see if NQ would get to new low of day, but it ended up continuing the bull flag, and I sold it here. Sorry, not the bull flag, the bear flag. So that was my second trade. So 2 trades, plus 50% and then plus 44%. But unfortunately, on the first trade, I did have to scale out early to reduce exposure because the contracts were just not way too much risk. But I did talk about this bear flag on NQ. Now, NQ was bear flagging, which is typically bearish. But use strength and weakness analysis. ES is a lot weaker than NQ. And if ES is going down while NQ is going sideways, what's ES going to have to do if NQ is actually going to break to the downside from this bear flag? Well, it's already been going down while NQ is going sideways and even slightly up. Well, if NQ breaks the downside, that's ES is going to have to drop all the way like down here. Which do I think is more likely to happen? If NQ goes sideways, or sorry, if ES goes down, as far as the trend of the day has been, if ES goes down a bit, NQ is likely to continue going sideways. If ES goes up, NQ is probably going to explode to the upside. Only if ES dumps hard, according to the strength and weakness analysis at this current time, that's the only way that NQ is looking like it's going to be able to break this bear flag and actually be able to continue. 2, there's 3 possibilities of what could happen. Only one of those look like it's going to cause NQ to drop. That's why I didn't even consider trading this bear flag. And I sent that analysis in my channel. Hopefully you guys avoided the bear flag as well. There was a mild strength change there during the bear flag. But look what ended up happening. We popped up. This was news here, and then we just shot up. But the bear flag did not end up playing out. Strength and weakness analysis is great. So the nice thing is today, and the reason I'm doing this review is not only do we catch 2 very nice trades. Again, I wish I were trading futures for that first trade. I wouldn't have had to scale out early. I would have just been able to hold the PT. But, options, you have to be a little bit smarter with your risk management, especially when it's your own money. But I avoided 2 trades today. I avoided this one, mostly because of patience. Waited for the candle to close. I always try to... I only enter trades within the last 10 to 15 seconds of the candle. So because of my patience, I was able to avoid getting in because of this selling wick. And ultimately missing this call trade. And then same thing on this bear flag. By using fairly basic and straightforward strength and weakness analysis, I wasn't able to fall for this bear flag and ended up just calling it a day. Now, I didn't enter calls either here because, my time of trading was pretty much up. And again, nothing on this chart tells me how high it's going to go. Nothing on this chart did at the time. And I'm glad I didn't because I probably would have lost. I would have had to stop out here. So 2 green trades, 100% accuracy for the 2nd day in a row, 3rd day in a row. I don't even know. What I do know is the last 5 alerts. We had 2 alerts today, 1 alert yesterday, and the last 2 alerts of Tuesday were all above 40% gains. So it's been absolutely fantastic lately. I'm very happy with that. But yeah, also missed out, not only did I have 2 nice trades today, missed out on a couple of trades due to patience. It just, strength and weakness analysis. You got to know it. But with that being said, does anyone have any questions regarding today's trades? Looks like whatever news happened right here did end up being pretty bullish, and it's pushing the market upwards. Market looks very bullish at the moment. But you guys know me, I'm not trading anymore. But if any of you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, today's analysis was pretty straightforward. I just entered puts when a majority of the upside move, whether it was the bounce or the run, just entered puts whenever a majority of the move was invalidated to the nearest reasonable pivot. And that second trade didn't have a reasonable pivot, so I sold finally when NQ made a lower low, not even new low of day, a lower low, because of my bias with NQ. Did you talk through all this live for the premium members? My alerts are in premium, correct, Oikos. But I also was in voice chat this morning as well, talking through this live. But all right. I think that's it for this review then. So I will let you guys go. I'm going to keep you guys updated on all the stuff I'm working on. Just lots going on. Lots going on, which is why I'm in voice a good amount more. But I'll be doing a review tomorrow as well, getting back in the habit. Took a couple days off, and like I said, I didn't do one yesterday because we took one trade. So, but all right, well, I will let you guys know when this review is uploaded. If you need anything, feel free to reach out, DM me. For those of you watching the recording, you can either comment, which I'm not super good at looking at comments, or you can DM me. My Discord is Bryce Trades. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you guys later. Good luck if you continue to trade, and I'll keep you guys updated on when this recording is posted.